Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Behind Enemy Lines broadcast. It's our podcast with myself and my friend Steve, who have grown up in the Toronto market all our lives and are Habs fans living behind enemy lines. So here we go. I want to introduce Steve. Take her
Thank you.
away.
Thanks for having me, Sheldon. It's been a pleasure. We talked about this a few weeks ago, trying to come up with an idea. We are both long life, diehard Hab fans, growing up in a market where it's flooded, but nothing but that flimsy blue maple leaf. And we've kind of had to deal with it. And the last 15 years or so have been tough ones where their team has been better, but I think this is a time where we've turned a corner. So let's dig in and let's talk about all things Habs and Habs hockey, and let's make this a place for Hab lovers to unite and share some banter.
Absolutely. So we're going to get started first by just taking a moment to recognize or to acknowledge the passing of Ken Dryden. I know it was a month ago, September 5th, but I mean, he was, as you well know, probably more than anybody, he was a huge part of our franchise. And I don't think people realize really how much he did for the team as a player and outside of as a player as well.
Yeah, he was legendary. Of course, everybody knows the story. Come up out of university, originally drafted by the Bruins. Did not, yeah,
Yeah,
again,
Bruins missed one there.
yeah, the enemies don't like us for that one.
Yeah,
But yeah, he became a Hab and it was instant success. Won a Conn Smythe before Conn Smythe and the Stanley Cup before winning the Calder Trophy, and those are almost unheard of numbers and accomplishments.
yeah.
Big in, we grew up in the 70s. Big impact in the 70s dynasties that we grew up as children watching. And,
Mhm.
for me, one of my two favorite players, God rest their souls, him and Guy Lafleur, but I
Yeah,
named my son Ken Dryden. His name
yeah,
is Dryden, named after Ken.
yeah.
So, deep ties in the family, and it's always sad when you lose a legend, but when one ties a little bit close to the heart, the strings are tugged a little bit more.
Yeah.
But definitely a legend. And as we saw through different TV podcasts or broadcasts and radio shows, nothing but good things and respect from players of all ages across the country and even in the U.S. So
Yeah.
just one of the true legends and icons.
Yeah, for sure. And real quick, like I mean, I obviously we did a little bit of research here. I mean, we all know about the lore that is Ken Dryden, but I think maybe some things that people overlook. He only played 8 years in the NHL, and of those 8 years, he won the Stanley Cup 6 times. Now, having said that, I mean, he was on a pretty good team. Those teams in the 70s were pretty, they were rockets. They really knew how to play the game. Had 378 career wins. Actually had 19 assists as a goalie. Uh, had a 916 career save percentage. And if you do the math over the 8 years, he averaged 50 wins a year. And I mean, I don't care what team you're on, that's still pretty impressive.
Yeah, the numbers speak for themselves. And one thing that gets often overlooked, yes, he only played 8 years, but that was in a 9 year career. He had a year off in two-thirds of the way through that. He had a contract dispute with management, took a
Mhm.
full year off, came back and still put up stunning numbers.
Yeah.
And
Never knew
again,
that. Yeah.
we take for granted that the legends are legends, but goalies in nowadays that miss time, the starters, they miss time for injury. They're never the same. He just outright said he wasn't playing hockey and
Yeah.
came back and still was an all-star.
Yeah, yeah. So with that, one of our features we're going to do here on the Behind Enemy Lines podcast is we're going to do a daily trivia question. And in honor of Ken Dryden, I think we'll keep it goalie related. Why don't you shoot away with that, Steve?
Absolutely. So Ken was one of our leaders, but let's go back a throwback. Who was the first Montreal Canadian goalie to achieve 200 wins for our franchise?
That's a good
So
one.
we'll let you sit on that. We'll do a follow-up answer at the end of the podcast, and hopefully for the many or two viewers that may see this, someone can get it right without using Google.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's get right into it. Today's episode, we're going to basically It's the beginning of a new year. So the date today, when you're watching this, the date we recorded this is October 2nd. So in a few days, we will have a regular season starting. We are going to have roster decisions between now and then to be made. They had a few last week. They sent down a bunch of players to Laval. So I know you had made some notes and got a list of players. I have my list. And I guess we're just gonna hash it out, see if we can agree, see what we don't agree on, and uh, and go from there. So if you want to start her off with any of your thoughts.
Absolutely. So, when you're trying to ice a 23-man roster, obviously all 23 guys don't play in one game, but that's who the big club carries. So, with guaranteed contracts and players that have stature that are automatically cements them into an opening night roster, we can start with last year's number one line. Whether they remain the number one line as a unit, but we have Caulfield, Suzuki, and Slavkovsky. We
I think
know
that's a given,
that's
really.
a given. So that no surprises unless you're a converted fan from the Utah Mammoth, and this might be a one-off chance for you to understand. They are our number one line, have been one of the best 5-on-5 minute lines that we've had in the NHL. So no surprise they're going to anchor the top of our roster offensively.
Yeah.
Second line, and when I say second line, I'm just calling out three players that would fit the dynamic. Whether or not Marty keeps them as line number two, or two of them or three of them end up on a different line, but we can all agree that Patrick Laine, Demidov, and Kirby Doc will be line number two. We'll follow into the same thing. Let's look at who's back from last year. They did play parts of the season together. We have Josh Anderson, we have Jake Evans, and we have Brendan Gallagher. So those are pretty much our top nine forwards. The fight comes is after that. We have Alex Newhook, who would be in that group. We would have our newly acquired Bolduc from St. Louis. They would be, not necessarily fourth line players, maybe, but they would be two of the next group to be available. The remainder of that discussion becomes we have five additional forwards that are still with the big club. All have different eligibilities, all have different positions, all have different skills. So I'll identify them. You can start to figure out. You can figure out who you think would be there. We can add some conversation. So in that group of five would be Joe Veleno, signed as a free agent. Sammy Blais, another free agent, and then we have three young kids: Florian Jacki, Oliver Kapanen, and Owen Beck. So the latter three are all players that have waiver eligibility. So does it make sense to send two of them down? Do we keep Blais? Do we keep Veleno? Do we keep one of them? Does one of them come as the modern day Michael Pezzetta, who keeps his skates in his bag in case he's needed and doesn't play a ton? What are your thoughts?
Well, I have a few thoughts. I think two things have really changed, even in our initial discussions with our thoughts on who was going to make the team and who was going to send down. And like you say, for various reasons, waivers is a huge issue. Are you willing to risk losing certain people? I mean, I don't think there's any big, huge, contracts you got to worry about. You're not sending down that, 5 years, 6 million per year player, obviously. But still, I mean, you took the time to sign that player, whether it be like Blais at a 775, I believe it was. Uh, Veleno's 900,000 for the year. I mean, if you take the chance on sending him down, there is a chance he could get claimed. Are you really losing anything? Not really, but I'd like to think they signed him for a reason because they see a potential or they see a fit, right? Uh,
Sure.
but I think in the last week, if you're a Habs fan and you've been living under a rock for the last couple of years and you didn't, or last couple of days, sorry, and you haven't seen that Ottawa game where, you know, the bricks hit the road kind of thing, and certain people made their presence very well known. Uh, I think even after that game, plus with injury like Reinbacher, what's happening with him, his hand, I know he's out 4 weeks. Things like that, I think have made decisions easier on one hand, harder on the other. I had a real issue with who our defense core was going to be.
Right. Yeah, and that's I think that was going to be the tougher decision made easier with the Reinbacher injury.
For sure.
And obviously dealing Mayu. I mean,
Mhm.
we're starting to get that 6, 7, 8 kind of numbers of who is going to be there. Uh, I think the defense is pretty much locked up at this point. You know, we have seven bodies in no particular order. Lane Hudson, Mike Matheson. We have Arbor Jacki. We have Caden Gooley. We have the newly acquired Noah Dobson, and we have Alex Carrier, and then Jaden Struble.
Yeah.
And you know whether that's any one of them sitting out, one of them injured, we have seven capable defensemen. So I don't think that's going to change. In the model of carrying a 23-man roster, carrying eight defensemen doesn't make sense because we
No,
don't
for
often
sure.
dress
Yeah.
seven.
Yeah. So
So you know, and then your two goaltenders. And I think at this point, you know, it's a foregone conclusion. Monty Sam Montembeau is our starter. I have no reason to believe that Dobish is not going to be the backup.
correct. And
Oh,
I think when they signed Kaikkonen to begin with, I think their intention was to send him Laval. I think it was support in Laval for Fowler. And I think, on a call up, I'm not even sure Kaikkonen gets the call up. It might be Fowler. Who knows,
well,
right?
I think it would be Kakinen just because he has the NHL experience and we need Fowler to play 50 games in the minors. So bringing him up maybe to get beat up on or just to travel and wear him down and not show well. I think
Mhm.
the intention is to protect him and he knows he's a number one guy. He knows he's going to play a ton of games and he knows he's going to push to make this roster even stronger moving forward.
Yeah.
But
So
you know that goes back down to like you said, five forwards fighting for essentially three spots.
yeah.
You
So I
know,
think we can agree the goaltending's pretty set. And the defense is pretty set. I agree with everything you said. I think the only tweaking would be who you pair up with who. And maybe on different nights, depending on who you're facing, that pairing is going to change as well. I think basically what it boils down to is where the real mass is the forward lines. I think the first two are pretty solid. And like you said earlier, the bottom six is where the stirring of the pot's going to happen here.
right? And I think we're swapping some parts for other parts, but when it comes down to it, we have let's just we went through it. Bolduc and New Hook left, who becomes the regular fourth or third player that fits that fourth line per se. You've got Joe Veleno, who has got 300 games of NHL experience.
Mhm.
Obviously, Montreal signed him. He's a French Canadian kid. Fits the media's requirement. You know, uh,
Yeah, not,
you know.
and you want to know what? I'm just going to get this right out of the way early. I call BS on that, and I'll tell you why. I understand, listen, don't get me wrong, but like we both said, both of us growing up, Hab fans our whole lives, how many times we, watch the TV and the French broadcast because we haven't had any other language to watch it in, you know what I mean? But I truly believe you sign the player that's best for your team, not the one that speaks French,
Right, and
right?
we've got to get out of that mindset, but it doesn't change the fact he's a French
Yeah,
Canadian kid.
yeah,
I think he stays. I think he becomes one of the opening night forwards. Doesn't mean he's in the lineup, but I think he's on the group that makes the opening lineup.
mhm,
So that would leave you essentially Sammy Blais to be your 13th forward, and then you need a guy in the press box. Well, I think Blais stays. I think at this point, sending him down would be great depth move, but I don't think it's productive to keep two of Florian Jacki, Kapanen, or Owen Beck and not have them be regulars. Just an opinion. I think these kids are young enough. There's still lots of time for them to develop. And I would like to see Owen Beck go down and play top three, top 6 minutes, play
yeah,
special teams, both
yeah.
both sides of the ice.
It's better for him.
I think it's better for him. Then you get down to two players. You've got
Yeah,
Florian Jacki and you've got Oliver Kapanen.
yeah.
So do we carry the sheriff's deputy? Does Florian fit a bill? He does. He's a chip off the old block when you're comparing him to his brother.
Mhm.
Maybe not as big, maybe not as strong, but there's no question, and his desire and his heart is cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. So
Um,
like for me, I'm all on Team Wi-Fi. I think Arbor is the guy. I know he's not the defenseman that's gonna, I mean, I don't see
he's not a Norris
there's
Trophy
no
winner
Norris trophies in his future. However,
unless he buys
like
them on
people
eBay.
say, he's that unicorn. On the other hand, I think his brother Florian, I think, is a better hockey player. I don't think he has as much toughness or grit as his brother, but I think he's a better hockey player, and I think he's better suited to have a longer, better NHL career.
Yeah, and I think having the pair of them really sets us up because when you're talking about team toughness, you're talking about are you willing to go to war? What are you
Mhm.
willing to do? Not in the next man up, but every man up. And when the sum of all the parts are firing, the whole is better. When Arbor's on the ice, Caulfield has a bit more skating room.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that we have to settle at just Arbor. The general consensus would be if Arbor's in the lineup, Struble probably isn't unless there's an
Mhm.
injury.
Yeah.
So if Gooley starts the year hurt, then maybe Struble's in the lineup. And then pair that with Josh Anderson. We have four guys that are going to make sure that our talented players are going to be covered.
Yeah.
Is it the best thing though? Is that roster spot the best thing? Is Florian Jack-Eye after 1 year in Laval, is he the best option? Some would argue that Kapanen is a better hockey player. He
Mhm.
came out of the Swedish league, played with men. They play a more defensive 200-foot game. He brings a lot of speed. Maybe a guy who can skate with Demidov. Maybe if you're filling him in on the second
Mhm.
line in minutes, might be a better offensive defensive option. But again, you're going to play the likes of the Bostons and the Phillies that just don't care and are going to try and mix it up,
Yeah.
and you've got Olivier in Columbus, and these are all division and conference guys. We're going to have a different look this year. So, my guess is Jack Eye should be there. I would love to see him start on the fourth line. And that means Valeno and Blay would be two guys in the press box,
Yeah.
or one guy in the press box, one guy the extra forward. But that's just a hot take. And again, all three other viewers that are going to have an opinion on this may be similar, maybe different.
Yeah.
But
Well, I have a little bit of a different take. Um, I think Florian makes the team. I think after, like I said, after that game against Ottawa there 2 nights ago, like you say, we have not only Arbor Jackeye, who seemed to be the solo doorman, as you would say. Well, his little brother's here now. He's shown he can handle it. We all know Josh Anderson with his size and his toughness. We know that he's got a mean streak when he needs to be. And I watched that fight with Struble, and I'm telling you, when he hit that guy, I don't think he's awake yet. He hit him so hard, and he got knocked back hard. And Struble has a tough streak. We know he can hit. We know he can grind. We can know he can do all that stuff. But like you mentioned earlier, have four guys that can really, step up for Caulfield and Hudson and stuff like that, and Demidov. We can't be having guys taking liberties with these players just because, Demidov is the next big thing, as we all know. You can't have players taking liberties with them without retribution. A message needs to be sent to say hands off, right? And maybe we're going back to that old goon mentality of hockey, but
I
Semenko
don't.
rode shotgun with Gretzky for years, and
Yeah,
it, right?
I don't know that it's goon hockey at this point. These guys can all play,
Hmm.
right? I mean, Ryan Reeves may be one of the last true tough guys that was just out there because he could fight.
Hmm.
He could skate, but he couldn't play hockey.
Yeah,
So defensively, he becomes a liability. So
yeah,
unless you're playing a game where that's going to be an essence of the determining outcome, he doesn't serve you a purpose. All those guys can play hockey.
yeah,
So it's like almost like the hybrid model, tough guys who can play,
yeah.
but teams that have them try not to let them go. I would love to see both, the X factor times two.
Hmm.
Let's keep both Jackeye brothers there. Let's keep this train rolling and let's try and build some momentum early because intimidation is going to be part of the game. Those defensemen on the other team need to know that Florian's skating a million miles an hour trying to put him into the popcorn stand,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And we just need that. It's got to be part of who we are. And if you want to try and goon it up, our freewheeling skaters are going to transition quickly and make you pay. So I think it sets us up for a lot of success. It's just whether or not can we stay healthy.
yeah. And I agree. And we're sort of in a little bit of a another situation that Montreal hasn't been in for years is the health factor. I mean, it seems like Montreal's had health issues for quite a few years, and it's the injury bug still seems to be biting us. But now we have players that can call up and do a pretty decent job of filling in, not just the body wearing a tarp and off you go, right? So, which leads me to we're basically. I think you and I are of the same opinion that you've pretty much got five players battling for two spots, right? So
essentially.
the age old question is who's in, who's out. Um, I personally, I think Florian is in. I think he's played well enough in the preseason, shown his grit, shown his muster that he's earned the spot. Uh, I think my second one, and I agree with you, as you mentioned earlier, I think Beck needs to go back down to Laval only for a little bit for his benefit because he might be a victim of numbers. And I mean numbers as in, you know, five players fighting two spots.
Yeah, he's definitely the victim of numbers, and we want him to play top 6 minutes.
Yeah.
We want him to get there, and we're gonna he's gonna get his time. We know that.
And my second one to fill the spot, which I might be going a little bit off what you had said, is I think Kapanen's the guy that's going to stay. I think he's played well enough in the preseason, especially that game against Ottawa. He was doing some pretty special things on the ice, from what I could see. I mean, I'm not a pro scout by any means, but as a fan who watches the games pretty intensely and sees things behind the play as well. Um, I just see him as staying, and this is going to be my hot take for this episode. I think by Christmas, I think he's our number two center.
And you may be right. He's definitely got the offensive flair that we're looking for. And in games that he's played and played on power play units, special team units with Demidov, there's no doubt that they just have a natural chemistry. That bond only gets better when you play games and play games together.
Yeah,
So you may be right. I think we got to be careful that we are a young team and a young franchise. I think we're
yeah,
going to enter the year as the youngest average age franchise in the NHL. We got to make sure we don't overwhelm these kids.
yeah,
Success is great, but failure could be, it could take a lot of steam out. Now,
yeah,
we also know we have a young captain. Nick Suzuki was instrumental in our drive towards a playoff berth last year.
for
He,
sure.
he went to management when there was talk at the trade deadline, and he says, "You keep this team together, and we won't disappoint." And he got us there. Not solely. Obviously, it takes many skaters, but you gotta like a captain, not like that awe-stunned idiot that wears a blue 34.
Yeah,
That will go to the depths to make sure you win.
yeah,
We have that guy.
yeah,
So it's gonna be an exciting season. Looking, we talk about highs and lows. We're on the verge of many highs,
hmm
and we have depth behind it. Can we
hmm
sustain an injury or two? We hope so. When your best player gets hurt, you don't have the second best player playing in the minors.
hmm
But the bridge gap now between the 10th to 15th forward is really close.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
optimistic. It's great to
yeah.
be a Habs fan.
We've got a future that we haven't had in quite a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we pretty much agree on, who are, I think the only thing where we are a little bit differing is those last two spots, who's going to get them. Um,
Yeah, I
but
think ultimately it comes down to, do Hughes and Gorton value certain things? Where do they value playing time? And those three of those guys can go down without clearing waivers.
yeah,
When you touch base on it, you sign guys in the offseason as free agents. Does that mean you sign them for development? Did you sign them for protection? Did you sign them for insurance? Blay might be that guy. If we put him on waivers, is he going to get claimed? No, I don't think so. So he could end up in the minors,
mhm,
and you could see Kapanen stay.
yeah,
It's are you better or worse? I,
mhm,
I don't know. You have a different option for a different reason.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think, we pretty much beat this roster horse around a little bit. So I think what you want to figure out now is, I would say, who to watch for. So on the call ups, like you mentioned up, who's the young guys that are going to be like touch wood that we don't get any drastic injuries, but it's an 82 game season. It's a physical sport. It happens. Who's called up for who? Like if we have I think a defense was a little more easy. I don't think Engstrom really showed it to make it this year anyways, right now. Is he the call up for defense? Who do you think?
Well, I think it's just going to be a natural thing. I think Reinbacher, once he's back, I think he's going to get a shot. He didn't impress me terribly in preseason. Seems timid and a little bit soft. Skates well. He's a big boy, right-handed shot. Think he could fall into a different mindset for us. And at some point, you got to give him a taste because you either got to figure out if he's part of your planning or part of your departure. Someone has gotta stay and someone's got to go. So if he plays and doesn't play well, he could still hold a trade chip value to somebody else. So I truly do see him as getting a chance. We did it with Mayu last year. He got his half dozen games. Couldn't We just couldn't keep him there because we had other guys. I think with the seven that we got, he becomes the next one after that, and
Mhm.
not a bad thing.
No, no.
And then there's always, if we have one or two injuries, does he come up or do you make a trade?
Yeah,
That may be part of this equation as well, and that might be part of why guys were acquired. Getting Dobson, he's a minutes guy, so I think
yeah.
we could be okay on the back end. Um, I think up front, obviously, we talked about Demidov. There's lots to brag about with this kid. He brings a flair, he brings an energy. We saw it in his opening night. The city was electric. He didn't disappoint.
Yeah.
Can he bring that for an 82 game season as a 19, 20-year-old in the NHL? Something tells me he's going to be a special kid. We could have back-to-back Calder winners
Ooh,
with
how about a
Hudson.
three-peat?
Yeah, and then yeah, because we can fast forward ahead because we have Michael Hagg coming up behind.
And
But
Fowler.
yeah, but we definitely, we have some young kids, Jack Eye, Kappen, and Beck. Two of those three are going to see regular time up here.
Mhm.
Probably all three. There's going to be an injury. There's going to
For
be two
sure. Yeah,
injuries,
yeah,
and we're going to see them all up here at some point.
yeah,
It's just I think Kapanen and Jack Eye, in my opinion, are going to get the lion's share of opportunity first.
for sure.
They bring
So,
they bring the right flair and right skill and right speed. So I think they serve the greatest need in the short term,
mhm.
but time will tell.
Okay, so I think we pretty much covered all the topics. I think we want to touch on goaltending a little more, and I'll let you start that off, Steve.
Great. Well, let's talk about our goalies. Sam Montembeau was a waiver claim 4 years ago and has become a bona fide number one. The issue that we have is we haven't had that backup number two. So we have a young kid from Ohio State, a Czechia native, Jakob Dobish, who has been lights out, and in this preseason has been stunning. Shut out the Senators last game. Easy for the big man to play when he sees every guy's going to war and trying to kill people. So where does that leave us? How many games do we think we need to give Jakob Dobish as a legit backup goalie, and has he earned the respect for legit?
Well, I think he's earned it for sure. I mean, all you got to look at is his numbers last year. I think he won his first 5 games, was it? Am I
Five
wrong?
or six, 5 or 6.
Yeah, so it's not like it was a fluke, right? I mean, you could have a fluke, maybe one, maybe 2 games, but when you're winning that many games, five in a row, and let's be honest, Montreal was not the best team at that time. They were, we're still up and coming, and we still are. I think you got to count on him for maybe 30 games. I mean, look at with the Olympic break this year, there's a lot of back-to-backs this year, and if memory serves me correct, I think Montreal has the most back-to-back games of all the NHL teams this year.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're either first or second in back-to-back games. I would like to see him more comfortable in the 20 to 25 games. You're probably going to have a goalie injury. One of them is going to tweak a groin or some silly
Mhm.
thing, and we're going to end up with a call up. I'd like to see him in that. And if he plays well, hopefully Marty rides a hot hand.
Yeah.
It's nice that, for the first time in a while, we've got a couple decent goaltenders.
Mhm.
So you're right. He started off hot. He's a big goalie. He showed well in preseason. There's no doubt he's the number two. It's just where's the sweet spot, and is Monty okay with that?
Yeah.
Does Monty start to feel threatened if it creeps up towards 30? Because then he's only playing 50.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
I guess you'd have to, are we looking for an over under here? Or is the over under 25? Is that what we're thinking?
yeah, I mean, I'm not a betting man unless you open your wallet, but I'm gonna say probably 25 is probably a good number for an over under.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty average, I think. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we've pretty much finished off our roster discussion. Do you got any final thoughts you want to throw out there on the topic?
Yeah, we can sound like we're on a record on repeat. It's a good time to be a Habs fan. Once the year finished, it was disappointing to see us lose to Washington easily. We were beat up and bullied off the puck and out of the arena. We have addressed that. So the emergence of Demidov, the trade to get Dobson.
Mhm.
We're in a good spot. We have youth, we have speed, we have skill in all aspects. Can Marty put us over the top? He's shown that he's definitely a player's coach. He seems to get the respect of his players, and the players seem to respect him. That couldn't have been more evident with Arbor wearing the A in an exhibition game. He's had a little bit of an up and down doghouse kind of mentality with Marty, but he's bought in because Marty's given him the respect.
Mhm.
So I think that, with all due respect to all the players, there's some definitely tough roster spots to be made.
Mhm.
But it's a good thing because we haven't had it in a while. I think the home and home, the last game of this preseason against Ottawa is going to set up. I'm excited. I mean, I never thought I'd be excited to watch preseason hockey,
Mhm.
but we definitely have a roster that could surprise. There's still people picking us to finish way down in the standings, and we can get into that next episode. We'll talk about where we think we're going to be. But I like where we're going, and I like the youth, and I like the skill. So for me, bring on the Leafs in the season opener.
Yeah. Okay, so my final thoughts, and I want to touch on basically a couple of things you just mentioned in your final thoughts as well. Um, I think you mentioned talking about youth. Youth is on our side. I hear a lot of people talking about a team's window, right? Like Toronto's Stanley Cup window. Toronto's window is closing and it's closing fast as far as I'm concerned. Montreal's is just starting to open. The youth, it's time for them to step up. And part of that is I think you have to give them a chance. You know what I mean? If you're not going to give them the chance and you're going to be afraid of failure, well, you're never gonna that player's never going to improve. As you all know, you learn from your mistakes, right? Now, what's the acceptable window of mistakes? That's another discussion for another time. As far as the Florian Jack guy and who makes the team, I personally can't stress enough. Guys like Demidov, they need the protection. They also need skill to play with as well. So you're are you giving up one for the other? And I'm not saying by any means put Florian on a line with Demidov, but I think he needs to be there on the roster because guys are going to look down that bench and they're going to say, if you got some meathead, because we all know when Kachuk comes back in Ottawa, he's going to think, oh, it's my time to shine. Well, he's going to look down at that bench. He's going to remember that punch that Struble throw. He's going to remember the Jack guys, and he's going to remember Anderson. I mean, Anderson handled Wilson pretty good last year there in Washington, and that makes guys think twice before they start getting ridiculous. And my final thought is leadership. You've touched on it a little bit about Suzuki, and it's the story that we all know where he went to Hughes and said, let's leave the team intact. With that, and with the pack mentality and the camaraderie the team has now, and you had talked about Dobesh, they want to play. These players want to be here. They want to play. This is a hill they're willing to die on, so to speak. They want to do for each other, for the team. So I think, like you say, it's exciting. We're going in the right direction. And like you say, a preseason game, they got Ottawa coming up again now tomorrow or the next night. It's it's going to be exciting to see what happens. And on that note,
Well,
I'm going to
we'll
throw
get
it back to you for our trivia.
yeah,
It's
well, for those three people keeping track and who were too lazy to go to Google, uh, with 208 wins, it was Bill Durnan from 1943 to 1950. So fails in comparison to the Carey Price 350 wins, but Bill Durnan first one to 200 in Montreal.
excellent, excellent. And on that note, I just want to say thanks to everybody on behalf of myself and my compatriot Steve. Thanks for watching our Behind the Enemy Lines podcast. Come here for all your Habs related discussion, ideas, and thoughts. Give us a like, a share, share with your friends, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you want to share it. The more likes that help us out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Keep your stick on the ice.